Welcome to the Workplace Minute, powered by H3HR Advisors and sponsored by WorkHuman. Thanks for joining me for your quick update on what's important in the world of work. My name is Steve Boese. Today in the Workplace Minute, we're talking about older workers in the workplace. Not as a niche topic, not as a demographic footnote, but as one of the defining forces shaping the labor market in the United States right now. Because if you look closely at the data, one thing becomes clear. The American workforce is getting older, and it's happening faster than many organizations are prepared for. Let's break it down. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, workers aged 60 and older are one of the fastest growing segments of the labor force. Participation rates for workers 65 to 74 have risen steadily over the past 2 decades, and projections show that trend continuing through the rest of this decade. Millions of Americans are working longer, whether by choice, by necessity, or some combination of both. Longer life expectancy, financial pressures, or in many cases just a desire to stay engaged and having a purpose are all contributing to these shifts. And this is not a small cohort. We're talking about tens of millions of workers. In fact, workers over 55 now make up roughly a quarter of the U.S. labor force, and the 65 plus segment is growing faster than any other age group. So when we talk about talent strategy, workforce planning, or employee experience, older workers are more than just a side conversation. They're an essential part of the workplace in 2026. Now let's bring in some new data that helps us understand this picture a little bit more. A recent study from CareScout ranked the best and worst states in the U.S. for older workers. And this is where things get really interesting, because where you live has a major impact on how viable it is for you to keep working later into life. And at the top of this list, you see states that combine strong economic opportunities with supportive infrastructure. So states like Minnesota, New Hampshire, and Colorado all rank pretty highly. They tend to offer a mix of higher labor force participation among older workers, better health outcomes, stronger age-friendly workplace policies, and economic conditions that make continued employment more feasible. In simple terms, they make it easier for older workers to stay in the game. And at the other end of the spectrum, the bottom-ranked states struggle across those same dimensions. States like West Virginia, Mississippi, and Louisiana show lower participation rates, fewer supportive policies, and in many cases more challenging health and economic conditions for older residents. The gap between the top states and the bottom states is quite large, and it highlights how uneven the experience of aging in the workforce can be across the country. This analysis, including some additional coverage from AARP, points to several key factors that separate top states from bottom ones. These include access to health care, workplace protections against age discrimination, availability of flexible work or part-time work, and even transportation infrastructure. When those elements come together, older workers are far more likely to remain active and productive in the workforce. And when they don't, participation drops and opportunities narrow. So what does this all mean for HR leaders and business leaders? First, it means recognizing the reality. Older workers are not exiting the workforce at the rates they once did. Many are staying, and in many cases they want to stay. Organizations that fail to plan for this are going to find themselves out of step with where the labor market is heading. Second, it means addressing bias, both explicit and implicit. Ageism in the workplace is still very real. Assumptions about adaptability, technology skills, or long-term value can quietly shape hiring, promotion, and retention decisions. And those assumptions are often wrong. Many older workers bring deep institutional knowledge, strong professional networks, and a level of judgment that only comes with experience. Third, it means designing work in ways that can support longevity. This can include flexible schedules, part-time or phased-in retirement options, ergonomic adjustments, targeted training programs that keep skills current, or other accommodations. None of these are radical ideas or really even that hard to implement, but together they can make the difference between retaining experienced talent and losing it. And finally, a word of caution. Any organization that develops a reputation for pushing out older workers, whether to reduce costs or to refresh the workforce, is taking on significant risk. Legal risk, certainly, but also reputational risk and cultural risk. In a labor market where trust and fairness are increasingly visible and valued, those decisions don't stay hidden for long. The bottom line is this. The future of work is not just younger, not just faster, not just more digital, It's also older, more experienced, and more multi-generational than ever before. The organizations that figure out how to embrace that reality will have a real advantage, and the ones that don't will be left trying to catch up. That's it for the show today. A big thank you to WorkHuman for supporting the Workplace Minute. Be sure to subscribe to the HR Happy Hour Network on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Steve Boese, and this has been the Workplace Minute from H3 HR Advisors.